Greetings once more from the hills of La Jolla. It is difficult, even now, after these many years of being together, to say certain things. And one of them is that there is no world outside of your mind. Remember that, as you study today's lesson, that the external world is pure imagination. It does not exist out there. Everything you are looking at is your mind made visible. Now that is a truth that is necessary for you to keep in mind, a truth you must live with day in and day out, so that upon waking every day you look out and say to yourself, whatever I see today will be my mind. It will appear to be objects, but it will be my mind. And I want to emphasize this right here at the outset, because if we are seeking the peace that passes understanding, it is not going to come except to those who know that my mind and the world are one and the same. Now let us turn to John with a great debt of gratitude, knowing that it was he who said, God is spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in the spirit and in truth. All over the world, individuals are seeking truth. And we, who are students of the infinite way, do not want to make that mistake. Seekers of truth always fall short of finding truth. And the reason is that the human mind cannot know truth. If we are going to follow any individual who is a seeker of truth, we are going to end up without spiritual power and without spiritual identity. Please try to remember this. Every time in your life that you have missed the mark and have wondered why the truth you knew didn't help you, it was because you were seeking truth or applying truth or speaking truth. Yes, you've been told to worship God in truth, and you may know truth. You may be able to mouth the truth. You may be faithful to that truth. But really, how faithful can you be to truth if it is the truth of words and thought? Let us see that truth is like the sunshine. There are no words of yours or words of mine that can make the sun warmer. No words can turn it on or off. It's going to shine without any assistance from you or me, from science or from religion. It's going to give us light. And this light and this warmth are totally independent of your words and your thoughts. Truth is the same. The presence of truth and the activity of truth are totally independent of your words and your thoughts. Truth never changes. It never increases. It never decreases. It never flows for a short time and is then withdrawn. Truth is always present. It is invisibly functioning all around us every moment. Now let's put it together. We know that the truth will make us free. We know that God is spirit. We know that spirit is life and light. Now we know that truth is spirit. Spirit is truth. Ye shall know the truth. Ye shall know the Spirit. And the truth, the Spirit, will make you free. I, said Jesus, am the truth. He was saying, I am the Spirit. Truth is Spirit, Spirit is truth. I am the truth. I am the Spirit. And when he said, ye shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free, he was saying, ye shall know the Spirit. And the Spirit will make you free. To know the truth, you must know the Spirit. Only the Spirit can make you free. Only the Spirit gives life and light. It is the Spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I, the Spirit, speak unto you. These words, they are Spirit, and they are life. And now we can almost see why the seekers of truth have always failed. Without Spirit, there is no life. Without Spirit, we are sleeping. And even while we seek the truth, learn about truth, seek the truth, and think the truth, we are sleeping. I am the truth, said Christ. And no man cometh unto the Father but by me. I am the Spirit, said Christ, and no man cometh to the Father except by Spirit. You see, you are the Spirit. You are the truth. Or you are nothing. And the truth is Spirit. You are Spirit, or you are nothing. Christ, giving us the great secret, the secret of spiritual identity, gives us the secret of truth that makes us free. Spirit is free. You are Spirit. Now let's hold that a moment in consciousness. Unless I am Spirit, I am never free. And let's make a note of these biblical statements by Christ in the Gospel of John, 4:24, 6:63, 8:32, and 14:6. I'll repeat them in a moment. These statements should become very vital to all of us. They are spoken by Christ in you, by I, the Spirit of you, and they are reminding you that I, Spirit, am the truth of your being. Now let us meditate briefly on each of these biblical verses to prepare ourselves for the God experience. John 4:24, God is a Spirit, and they that worship Him must worship Him in spirit and in truth. With our eyes closed, we are contemplating this great truth that God is Spirit. And if I'm going to worship God, I must worship God in spirit. In truth. I must be the Spirit. I must be the truth. I can only worship God where I am, not up there in heaven. And so right here, I worship by accepting the Spirit of God as the truth of my own being. I am the living Spirit of God. I am the truth. And today we're going to learn how to be that truth throughout the day. Not to seek it, not to search for it, not to mouth it, not to learn it. We're going to learn how to be it. To worship God in the Spirit, as Spirit, in truth, as truth. Not two, not a me looking for these things, but a me that is the Spirit, that is the truth. then I will be worshiping God here on earth as the living spirit of my being. And that acceptance, that realization is the worship in the Spirit, in the truth, which truth liberates me from the limitations of the flesh. We are merely abiding in the Word, purifying the consciousness, preparing for the descent of the Holy Ghost. We are breaking the continuity of thought from the world mind as it mechanically forms images within us. We are reaching another altitude of consciousness. John 6:63. It is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit, and they are life. The words and the thoughts that flow through you when you are the living spirit, when you are the truth, and are no longer a divided self. These are the words and thoughts of spirit, and they carry with them the substance and the power. That is a level that you will find is available to you at all times, just as the sun is shining, just as the truth is flowing. The level in which the words of Spirit within you, as substance and power, are available to you, are always there expressing. It's simply your conscious awareness of this fact made into a permanent conscious awareness. And today we will deepen that capacity. Ever waiting for the inner quickening as Spirit comes into consciousness, releasing us from the mechanical world mind. We're waiting just like the leaves on a tree. Be still. I and the Father are one. The Spirit will quicken you out of mortal consciousness, making all things new. John 8:32. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The knowing will be that you are the Spirit of God. And within ourselves we should be saying, the Spirit of God is my being. This is the truth. And as the Spirit I acknowledge as my being comes into my consciousness, as I become spiritually conscious, there will be a conscious awareness within myself that I am no longer a person. I am the truth itself. And all that I express is the infinite individualized as the truth of being. I express the qualities of the Father. They all flow through my being when I am not a channel for the world mind. Then I am the truth. And the power of the truth is self-expressing. I am free from every limitation when I am the truth realized. And there will be today moments when this is very clear to you. We still await the quickening of our infinite spirit. John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. I, Spirit, am the way to the kingdom of heaven on earth, to the full, complete realization of divine identity. I, Spirit, am the truth. I, Spirit, am the life. Spirit is the way, the truth, and the life. And no man cometh to the Father except by Spirit. So we know that the secret is the spirit of my being realized. And with that as a preliminary, we can move ahead now into the God experience. I might add one thought, and that was in John, 1st chapter, verse 3. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. I'm quite sure now you can see that very clearly as the revelation that we live in a spiritual universe. All things were made by him, and him is God, him is Spirit. All things were made by Spirit. And without him, without God, without Spirit, was not anything made that was made. Nothing was made except of Spirit. That is the revelation by John, right up there, of a spiritual universe. That Spirit is the substance of all reality. And that is why you must be Spirit to be the truth, to be free, to express the qualities of God. No man cometh unto the Father except he who is the Spirit of God. Now we have the spiritual you, the spiritual universe, and there is no other. All else that is in the world, which is not the Spirit, was not made by the Spirit, and has no existence except as mental image. We've got to clarify that so that we can put it behind us. To worship God in spirit is very different than religious worship. You must worship God where God is. And you must worship God by living in the kingdom of God. It's not a me here worshiping a God there. Unless we worship God right here on earth, we're separated from the very God we seek. Now that's why John's information that God is Spirit is so vital to us. We must worship Spirit here on earth. To experience God, we must be where God is. And God is Spirit on earth, right here, right now. Like Jesus, we cannot seek truth. We must be the truth, which is the Spirit, right here, right now. I, right here, right now, I am the Spirit of God on this earth. Where the Spirit is, I am. Where I am, the Spirit is. Where God is, I am. Where truth is, I am. The Spirit of God on earth is the truth of all being. The truth of your being, of my being. The first commandment is that I am that Spirit. The second commandment is that my neighbor is that Spirit. So wherever I go, all that can be there is the Spirit of God. Either your Spirit or my Spirit, His Spirit or her Spirit, the one all-pervading, invisible Spirit of God. All things were made of the Spirit of God, and without the Spirit of God, nothing was made. We walk as Spirit, in Spirit, surrounded by Spirit. Then I am the truth, and that truth makes me free. If you are not worshiping as spiritual identity, then you are in the mechanical mind stream of the world. Last month we spoke of it as the challenge. We want to see how that challenge works. If you are in the mechanical mind stream, all you can experience is the opposite of truth. You will experience world thought. Now look around you in the room that you happen to be in at this moment. And if you can, let your eyes fall on a chair. Now you think you're looking at a chair. But you are not looking at a chair. You are looking at your own mind. And in your own mind there is a chair. Now let your gaze fall on something else. Either a table or a rug on the floor, a lamp, a picture on the wall, anything else. Now you think you're looking at these things. You must learn to know consciously that you're not looking at these things. All you can ever look at is your own mind. And in your own mind are the images. A chair, table, rug, lamp, picture, statue, tree, television set, books, walls, ceiling, clock. Whatever you see is mind substance, formed into the appearance of things. The world around you is mind substance. Your mind substance. My mind substance. Everyone's mind substance. The world around you is not the kingdom of God. It is totally mental. You are always looking into your own mind. And you are seeing forms in it. And you are believing that these forms are external to you. These forms are never out there. They're always made of mind substance. And the only place they exist is in your mind. Now just imagine that on a chair in front of you there was a person dying. A person very sick, ravaged by disease. Now ask yourself, does God make sick people, dying people, people ravaged by disease? It says Spirit makes all that is made. And God being Spirit Spirit didn't make what you are imagining to be sitting in that chair in front of you. And so, who makes sick people? Not God, not Spirit, the only Creator. They are not made. They are mind stuff. They appear out there. God is not making them well. Why? Because they do not exist in the mind of God. They exist only in the mind of human beings. Just as your own form exists only in your mind, my mind, his and her mind, but not in the mind of God. Every form is mental. Every object you see and touch, every person you know, everything you believe to be out there is mental. It appears there because your mind is a television station. There is a sender, a receiver, and there is an idea that is sent. Your mind is the receiver and the screen on which the forms appear. The sender is the world mind. It sends ideas, not divine ideas, but world mind ideas. And these ideas flow throughout the world mind, and every human mind tunes into them automatically. You tune into them without even thinking about it. And then mechanically, with no effort whatsoever on your part, these world mind ideas flow through time, space, flow through your mind. You receive them, and automatically you bring these ideas into form as objects and things, conditions, animals, birds, and people. It takes absolutely no effort on your part. It's a universal automatic process. You've been doing it from infancy to this very moment. Your parents did it before you, their parents before them. So we all live this way in our own minds, controlled and then influenced by the images that move in our minds. Even though these images are not divine and not perfect. We watch these images being born, we watch them die, and we accept them as reality. We see their animation, and we accept that animation as aliveness. We're unaware that it is all a play of our senses within our own minds, forming our make-believe universe, an electrical counterfeit within our minds of the perfect spiritual universe that exists all around us. What is a person? That's a strange question, isn't it? The Bible tells us what a person is. According to the words of God in the Bible, God is no respecter of persons. Cease ye from man, from persons whose breaths are in their nostrils. Why? Because form is an image in the human mind. It is not an eternal or external reality. Flesh is grass. Be ye transformed by the renewal of the mind. Have ye that mind which was in Christ Jesus, a mind which does not counterfeit, does not make up images and believe them to be reality. Be reborn of the Spirit. Do not be the creature who cannot know God. Do not be the image in mind, which is called new man. Do not be the picture that comes and goes, but let the Spirit quicken you out of these fleshly images. out of the imagined world into the perfect spiritual reality that surrounds us all. Live consciously in the kingdom of God right here on earth, in the true creation, in the substance of God itself, and you will be the truth. This is the only freedom, the real freedom, the promised land. The Lord is my shepherd. He restoreth my soul. He opens my inner eye. Spirit is my shepherd. In spiritual identity, I shall never want. Spirit makes me lie down in green pastures. Spirit leads me beside the still waters, out of the imagined forms of the world mind. Spirit leads me through the valley of the shadow of death, revealing the nothingness of all evil, of all error, of all imagined fleshly form, all imagined objects. Spirit prepares a table for me, reveals to me the true spiritual kingdom, where the world mind, the wilderness, imagines enemy. Spirit anoints my head with oil, reveals reality, purity, perfection, eternal being. Spirit overflows my soul, my cup, with eternal goodness, eternal love, eternal life. And I will dwell in the house of Spirit forever. This version of the 23rd Psalm just came spontaneously as a natural outgrowth of dwelling with you in spirit. And so it will be, like a tree, like a leaf on the tree, with no capacity to interfere with the life of that tree. It lets the life flow through, forming its own substance into buds, flowers, fruit. The leaf could do none of that. It must wait for the life of the tree to manifest, to express where the leaf is. In our mortal mind stream, the images we form come out from and into this fourth world which we call earth. From the world mind into your mind come these ideas that your mind then forms into images. Forms which are not of God, are not spiritual, but are mental. This becomes your fourth world. But if, like the leaf in the tree, you do not react to these forms, if you let them flow, merely watching them in silence, from further back, behind the world mind, the life of spirit flowing from the three heavens above, the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh world, will flow through the stillness of your mind. There's nothing more for you to do about it. Just be there, being still, letting something higher than the world mind express before you start reacting to the form. And like the leaf, you simply wait. And way, way back, behind and above the world mind, which is counterfeiting reality, a new level of idea is born that flows to you, through you. And this new idea that comes to you, being divine, this is what your mind will shape into images in the mind. You will see these images, and they will be formed out of the Christ mind, the still mind. the mind that is not a captive of the world mind. And these new forms will still be within your mind, but they will be under another government, another law. They will be flowing to you from the real source. You will find how gently this works, so that the least effort you put forth, the greater the clarity and purity of that which flows from the infinite. Now, it has come to my attention many times that in your meditations, many of you are still struggling and striving too hard. And we want to clarify again today that like the leaf on the tree, you are not to do the work. That is how you stop at the fourth world of matter, of mind. The minute you try to do the work, you break off the flow, the continuity from the higher levels, and you're stopped in your tracks right where you are in the world of opposites. Whereas when you learn to quietly trust the Spirit of God to be doing its work, you will not react to the forms that appear seemingly out there but only in your mind. You will look at these forms and know, I'm only looking at my mind and my work is not yet done. Now when these forms move, I'm not going to react to them. I'm going to continue looking at them until the higher levels push forth their ideas within me, transforming the images in my mind. Now you remember we said that in order to experience God, we must live where God is. In order to be the truth, you must be the Spirit. You must live here and now consciously in the kingdom of heaven, where Spirit lives. God lives in heaven. Spirit lives in heaven. Heaven is where you are in the spiritual awareness of being. And when you are living here consciously in the kingdom of God, identifying yourself and your neighbor as spirit, as the invisible universe around you as spirit, you must go one step further. It cannot be something you speak with the lips. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, the qualities of the Spirit are. And so for you now to live consciously in heaven, on earth, there are a group of exercises that have been prepared for you. Every exercise is begun with the knowledge that I am the Spirit of God. I'm not a human mind expressing world mind ideas into thought forms that die. That's only the fourth level of consciousness. An incomplete fractional level which limits me to a lifespan of opposites. I know the secret of how world mind flows through me, and I form images that appear to be external, and now I'm going to let these images flow through me with the knowledge that they are not out there. And in their place, I am going to invite the higher ideas of the divine consciousness. And I'm going to accept that just as the sun shines and truth flows independent of the human mind, I'm going to accept now that all of the qualities of the spiritual universe around me are flowing now independent of the human mind. I cannot coax them into coming into my life. They are here already. I cannot coax the sun to be warmer or brighter, or truth to be more truthful, or the intelligence of God to be more intelligent. I cannot influence in any way the purity of God, the harmony of God, or the peace of God. It is here. But I can empty out my concepts, which are the forms and objects and conditions I have accepted in this world, removing all concept until I am in a state of purity, so that the qualities of God which are here can express themselves. And so the series of exercises we will institute are these. Number one, we will accept that just as the sun is shining, as truth is flowing, here and now, right here, all around us on this earth, not just in the sky, the intelligence of God is flowing. All around you now is the intelligence of God. This becomes the first contemplative meditation which you are to practice. We will do it now, and it is your first one for tomorrow. It will go something like this. The intelligence of God has no opposite. It is here. It is permitting no evil. It is permitting no error. It is permitting no sickness or disaster. God isn't sending hurricanes and typhoons and tornadoes. God isn't sending earthquakes and avalanches. None of these things are in the substance of reality. None of these things are in spirit. The intelligence of spirit is maintaining its own perfection. That intelligence all around me is my guarantee that there is an intelligence running the spiritual universe. There is no one here who can improve that intelligence. No one here who can improve the spiritual universe. It is always being maintained by the perfect intelligence of spirit. And because I am living in the kingdom of spirit on earth, I am that spirit. That intelligence is the only intelligence I can accept. There is no second intelligence. There is no counterfeit intelligence. There is no unintelligence. Whatever denies, by its appearance or its activity, the perfect present intelligence of the Spirit of God is a non-existence. And I, to live in the kingdom of heaven here on earth, cannot accept any unintelligent action as happening. Whatever is unintelligent is impossible and can only appear in the mind that beholds it. Whereas yesterday I would behold an unintelligent action and in some way have a feeling about it. To live in the kingdom of heaven on earth, I must watch that unintelligent action, knowing that it is not external, it is not there, it is not happening. It is appearing to me in the human mind, which is a channel for the world mind, the fourth world, and I am not reacting to it, but am watching it with no judgment, no criticism, and no praise, because it is not there. It is not out there. It is only a world mind idea which my human mind had converted into an unintelligent action of a form. And I know it is not there. No unintelligent action exists in the spiritual universe around me. I am not accepting a material universe around me. I am walking in a spiritual universe and being faithful to the intelligence of the divine mind, the divine consciousness, to be present, governing all that exists, and therefore no unintelligent action is possible. In this contemplation I rest. To this I am true. I cannot change an unintelligent action because it isn't there. I cannot sympathize with it. I cannot resent it. I cannot judge it. I cannot condemn it. I cannot fear it. It is not there, any more than that sick person that I had imagined some time ago. If I am faithful to this, I am living in the kingdom of heaven on earth, where God is, where Spirit is. I am being the truth, not knowing it. I am the truth. I am the intelligent action of Spirit. And beside me there is no other. The shadow of the lie must fade and dissolve, because spiritual truth leads me to green pastures. And I stand in that truth until the false shadow of the lie vanishes in my consciousness. Now this is your first exercise tomorrow. Not only is the Spirit omnipresent, but the intelligence of Spirit is omnipresent. There is no second intelligence anywhere. There is no intelligence to create a war or to maintain a war. No intelligence to cause or maintain a disease. No intelligence to run one automobile into another. Therefore, these things, which could not happen in the presence of divine intelligence, are not happening. Do you see how you're taking the power of the world mind away? How you are removing the false sense of power it has had to force upon us forms that have no existence? that could not exist in the presence of divine intelligence, and by supplying the missing ingredient that divine intelligence is present, you remove the hypnosis of the world mind which says unintelligent action can be present. But it means nothing unless you work with it, unless it becomes a daily, concentrated contemplation until you take from it the essence of its truth, until you can walk away from this experience and know that you have the power to look out upon the world which says to your mind that unintelligent action is happening, and within you is the strength to know, no, it cannot, because divine intelligence is present. Divine intelligence is omnipresent and permits no unintelligent action. Therefore, no unintelligent action is happening. And I say to you, work with this. Tomorrow, until you feel that you have developed a capacity to even get a glimpse of the great truth which can free your mind from the world mind stream and open you to the life stream of the soul. Now make that your subject for contemplation for tomorrow. There'll be another one for the following day and the following and so on. But if tomorrow you do it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, that's not too many. And to guide you, you might use the contemplation we just went through, but don't do that for 4 or 5 times. Let it run freely from your own inner self. Get the feeling of it, so that after this contemplation we have had is repeated with you once or maybe twice, learn to let the full flow of your own inner spirit dictate your contemplative meditation with the subject that the intelligence of spirit is present without opposite, everywhere. On the highway, in the home, in the hospital, on the battlefield, in the city, throughout the world, the omnipresent intelligence of God is. And you live in that divine intelligence without opposite. Let's take a second, and this will be for your second day. Let's take the harmony of God. Now remember, we are moving, living, having our being in the presence of Spirit on earth. In other words, we are accepting a spiritual heaven as our earthly home here and now. And we are remaining in that spiritual heaven on earth by abiding in the qualities of Spirit, knowing that where Spirit is, the qualities of Spirit are. And certainly harmony is a quality of Spirit. So if I accept that Spirit is here everywhere, I accept that harmony is here everywhere. I am abiding now in the harmony of my own Spirit. Everywhere is my Spirit. Everywhere is the Spirit of God, and therefore everywhere is the harmony of God. Here is the harmony, and it isn't something that changes because I don't see harmony. The harmony is as ever-present as the sun and as the truth, as the intelligence. What I see does not change the fact that the harmony is here. If I see a cloud, it doesn't change the fact that the sun is in the sky. If I hear a lie, it doesn't change the fact that truth is present. If I see a discord, it doesn't change the fact that harmony is present. The discord is the false appearance in mind, still chained to world mind, But I am the Spirit of God. And therefore that discord which I see is only a remnant of my material consciousness. It isn't reality. I can look at the discord and every other discord knowing it is denying the presence of Spirit. It is denying the presence of the harmony of Spirit. And because Spirit is present and its harmony is present, because nothing but Spirit is present, that which is not harmony is not happening. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It is but a trick. It is not out there. It is in the world mind idea which my mind has formed into an appearance called discord. And I'm not stopping at the fourth world. I'm waiting for the three heavens above to send their idea through me, and it will appear as the harmony which is present when I wait upon the invisible Spirit of my own being. I am the Spirit. I am the harmony. And that which denies it is but an appearance which I do not accept as a real happening. I rest in the harmony that is ever present. Every discord on the earth is a lie. Spirit is here without opposite. Harmony is here without opposite. Discord is never possible, is never happening. The world illusion of discord, individually expressing, is not happening. I am living in the kingdom of Spirit. I am knowing the truth. I will experience the freedom of God's presence. We'll pause now, and then we're going to return to our spiritual awareness and the qualities of that Spirit. All part of the daily God experience. Be back with you in a moment.
Now, many of you have the book, The Spiritual Journey of Joel Goldsmith by Lorraine Sinkler. And I think at this particular point in our study, it would benefit us to look at this passage on page 145. I'm going to read it to you. This is Joel speaking. From my background of 30 years, I will tell you this. I still do not know what it is all about or how it is done. I still do not know how God functions or why the spiritual activity is what it is. I cannot grasp it. The best I am able to do is to release myself and let it grasp me. I do not have the faintest idea of what it is or how it is that some of the great miracles we are witnessing are performed. I only know that in proportion as I am able to release myself from faith in what I think I know, in that degree, something takes place and produces effects on this outer world. Now that's the top of page 145. And the reason I felt you should be aware of that right now is because in these exercises we are learning, when you have the trust in the intelligence of God, you will feel completely the way Joel expressed it. You see, if you have the faith in God's present intelligence, what is there for you to do? Other than to be conscious that God's intelligence is present, that it is functioning, that it is where you are, that it is unconditioned, that God is doing it. You say, well, what about this that I see, which is so terrible? Well, that's exactly the point. What you see that is so terrible cannot be there because God's intelligence is functioning there. You must know God's intelligence is functioning there. And if you do not know that, you're separated from that intelligence, and that is why you're experiencing this terrible thing that is there. Come out of human thought. Come out of the appearance that is there. Don't let this mechanical universe come through you and express this terrible thing and fool you into believing it. I refuse to believe what the human mind pictures. It pictures birth, it pictures death. These are lies of the human mind. It sees an old man and a baby, but only spirit is there. It sees the adulteress, but only spirit is there. God's intelligence is maintaining the spiritual universe, and only spirit is there. The human mind is a liar. It will trick you into believing what isn't there. It will trick you into believing that God's intelligence is not operating there. And it's up to you not to let it do it. Your third day will be the exercise of perfection. The contemplation of perfection. Again, if you know that you are spirit, that spirit is perfect, then whatever appears to you imperfectly is the mechanical world-mind appearance, which is never happening outside but is only happening within your mind. That imperfection is like the chair, like the table, like the lamp, like the clock, like the wall. They appear to be out there, but you're only looking at your mind. And the imperfection you see is your own mind. Spirit is the substance of every real form, and spirit is perfect. Therefore, the imperfection you see is not spiritual, but is only a mechanical mind form that you are looking at, which is in your own mind. It is your mind itself. Your mind, which is reporting the error, is the error that it is reporting. And because you are willing to accept that because all is spirit and therefore all is perfect, this error is impossible, now you're taking control. The world life stream was fighting to control your mind, to give you the sense of mind which could see evil. Most of our human lives it has succeeded in doing just that. We are living in the kingdom of heaven, where perfection is the law. This is our contemplation. And in this contemplation, as we get glimmers of this truth, as we understand this truth, as we become this very truth, as we know that I am the perfection of spirit, we are building that spiritual consciousness which one day will not react to the imperfections that appear in mind. You have never seen an imperfection in this world that has been outside of your mind. The only place it could be is in your mind. When you overcome that imperfection and know that it is not there, but it exists only in your mind, you will find the secret of I have overcome this world. Now trust that perfection. As Joel said, I don't know how it works, but it does. All I need do is trust it, rest in it, remain in it, abide in it. Remain in the consciousness that the omnipresence of Spirit, the omnipresence of God, the omnipresence of truth, the omnipresence of harmony, the omnipresence of perfection are all facts. They're never withdrawn, they never diminish, they are always fully expressing where you are and everywhere else. All things were made by Spirit, and without Spirit nothing was made. The mechanical world mind, throwing ideas at you that you convert into form, begins to lose more and more of its false potency. Why, you even reach the point of seeking no healing, because you trust the perfection of God to be where the human mind had reported that a healing was necessary. Pick up your bed. Who convinceth me of imperfection? Nothing is stopping us from living in perfection except the duality of the human mind which didn't know. I am the Spirit, I am the truth, I am the perfection now. There's nothing about me that is imperfect. I am the living Spirit. And all that was imperfect never was me. But I didn't know it. I was not living in the kingdom of heaven, of spirit, here on earth now. I was worshiping a God up there. Your power is where the Spirit is, and that is where you are. Remember, your spirit is the spirit of your neighbor. Well, wherever you turn, you're turning from the spirit of you here to the spirit of you there. There's never any space or separation or distance or time. You're moving through the one infinite spirit of perfection, developing the capacity to watch the false appearances of imperfection because you know how they come into appearance. That's your third day. Fourth day, purity. Purity. Now, because Spirit is omnipresent, purity is omnipresent. Because Spirit is all there is, matter itself is a form of impossibility. And therefore matter, all matter, is non-existent in your consciousness. There's no such thing as pure matter or impure matter. There's simply no matter. Purity means pure spirit. And therefore to you, because Spirit is omnipresent in this meditation, you contemplate the purity of the universe around you. Someone is supposed to have leukemia. Someone else is supposed to have Parkinson's disease. Someone else has a wart on their finger. They do because they are living in the world mind which shows forth through their mind as these conditions. But can they happen if Spirit is all? And so you are not permitting your human mind to fool you. You know what these are. These are appearances that exist only in the mind that beholds them. And you have something else to go by, the purity of spirit. And so you know before you look with human eyes that impurity cannot be. It's simply a fact. This is your belief, your knowledge, your consciousness. Impurity cannot be. Oh, I can see it, but it cannot be. I'm looking from the impurity of physical senses. No wonder I see impurity. But I do not believe these physical senses. I know they lie. And therefore you can look at the lie, see the lie, and touch the lie. And know it cannot be happening because Spirit is pure and only Spirit is here. Spirit is maintaining its purity. And the purity of Spirit is your purity and the purity of your neighbor. Your neighbor is as pure as you because you are the same Spirit. And now trust that purity to be the only thing that is present. Don't change the impurity, but live consciously in the purity. And let the purity, like the sun, express itself. Let purity warm you. Let it brighten you. Let it express itself as the purity of your consciousness. Don't you do it, and don't try to figure out how it's done. Back behind the world mind, that purity is flowing. Your recognition of its presence eclipses the world mind and its ideas and the patterns that it forms in your mind, and the purity of itself expressing through your acceptance of its purity as the purity of your being here and your being there where your neighbor is. All this is the purity of your spiritual being. There's no further to go but abide there and live today in the purity of your being everywhere. You see how 4 days now, each day another quality of the Spirit that you live in, several times during the day. You build your consciousness of heaven on earth. You're not studying truth. I'm going to be this truth. I'm going to be the purity of spirit today. I'm going to be the intelligence of spirit today, the harmony of spirit today, the perfection of spirit today. And then one day they all go together. Let's take peace. The fifth day, peace. Why peace? Because the Spirit of the Lord is all there is. The Spirit of the Lord is not war. It is not hate. It is not violence. It is not cruelty. It is not conflict or struggle. What are these things? They are not peace. But spirit is everywhere, without opposite. The law is that peace is everywhere without opposite. There are no unfriendly neighbors, though they may seem to be. There are no unfriendly nations. There is no one trying to revenge themselves against you or anyone you love. There is no hostility. These are the appearances in the world mind coming forth in the divided mind of man. The mind that is separated from the kingdom of heaven on earth. The no mind. The shadow mind. Making everything counterfeit seem so real except to you who are living today in the consciousness of peace. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, because my peace is the peace of reality. It never goes away. It never changes. It is never absent. My peace is always here in your spirit. When you are the truth. And to be the truth, you must be my peace. That makes you a peacemaker. You are living in the consciousness of my peace, where the world is presenting discord. And the mind that would deceive you, make you believe that other than peace is present, is revealed as a no mind, no power, a no presence, a false image maker. Everywhere you look, in your kingdom of present reality, only peace exists. The world can challenge you with all kinds of appearances, and that's the challenge. All the appearances that are not peaceful, but they make no difference, because only peace can be present. Only spirit is present. You're living in heaven. You're not living in this world. You are the spirit, the truth. And therefore you must be the peace. You cannot be anything but the peace, or you are not the spirit or the truth. So you see, you must accept the qualities of Spirit to be the Spirit. And that's the purpose of these contemplations. If you do not accept omnipresent peace, you're not accepting omnipresent Spirit. You must accept every quality of Spirit as omnipresent in order to accept Spirit as omnipresent. So now you've got 5 qualities of Spirit that are omnipresent. Let go of one of them and you are not in the kingdom of heaven. But continue in the Spirit, in my word, and ye shall know the truth is your own being. My peace is beyond the understanding of the human mind. And if you understand this, you're not understanding it with the human mind. If you understand this, the petals of your soul have opened, and you are living in a soul awareness. Above mind, above world mind, above the illusion of a mind, which is not the mind of God. All over your spiritual universe now, God's peace is and always has been a present reality, just like the sun in the sky. Rest in it. Now we come to your 6th day. Your 6th day of contemplation is the will of God. The will of God is function. The will of God is present everywhere. Where the will of God is, it would be clear to anyone in spiritual awareness that that will is not permitting a second will to exist. And so the will of God being everywhere, functioning now, there is no second will anywhere. A tiger has no will of its own. A leopard has no will. A dictator has no will. Those who would commit violence or cruelty have no will. There is no such will. The only will is the will of God. The human mind had thought that there was a will among people, among nations, a will among those who would steal, or those who would in some way crucify the Christ. But there is no such will. It isn't present. It seems to be. It is the very denial of the truth that only the will of God is present. Choose ye this day. Are you living in heaven on earth, or are you living in this world? If you live in this world, you think there are many wills, that every individual on earth has a will. If you're living in heaven on earth, you know that the only will here is the will of God. This is your contemplation now. The only will here is the will of God. That will is not cruelty. That will is not punishment. That will is not condemnation. That will is perfection. The will of God is that you be perfect. That will is functioning. Now, the whole world denies the present functioning of that will. Can you step out against the world in the knowledge that only that will is functioning here? God takes no pleasure in your dying. It is not the will of God that you die. Now then, who can die? It is God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. It is the will of God that you have the kingdom. Do you not see that the will is functioning? Do you not see that you have the kingdom? That your spirit is the kingdom? That you are the kingdom? It is the will of God. It is the pleasure of the Father to give you the kingdom. And if it is the will of God to give you the kingdom, that will is functioning. That will is giving you the kingdom. That will is maintaining the spiritual you. That will is maintaining the spiritual self of every individual who walks the earth. That will is the invisible kingdom of everyone's individual selfhood. That will is functioning. Where is the will of a human being? It's as unreal as the forms that we have imagined in the world mind. There is no human will. It is a counterfeit. It appears to be there. It appears to commit action. But where does it commit them? Every human action is committed within the human mind. And other human minds see these actions. Why? Because all human minds are the one world mind. And the world mind simply broadcasts its actions into form in our mind. When we are not living in the consciousness of the one intelligence, the one mind, which we are now doing. And so the one will. The acceptance of the one will is another way of living in the spiritual kingdom here and now. Because I live in the one will, I can form no opinions about another will. I cannot react to another will. It isn't happening. Remember that phrase, it cannot happen. It is impossible. Only the qualities of spirit can happen. We're not concerned about things that appear in the world mind, or in the world, which is the same thing. We know the illusory nature of the world mind and the things that appear in it, which then appear in our individual human mind. We see the whole illusion of that. Our knowledge is that the will is functioning, and its will is to be perfect, and therefore its will is the only will that functions. Only perfection is functioning. Every will that expresses itself in the world mind is a false will. The will to drop bombs is no will. The will to steal is no will. When we are in the knowledge of the non-reality of those wills, by being in the knowledge of the reality of the will of spirit, omnipresent, we find that these wills do not function against us. They have no power to function against your knowledge of the one will. And if you are living in that consciousness daily, so that it is your permanent consciousness, you find the will of evil that exists in the world mind has no power to function against you. One way or another, it is thwarted and sometimes boomerangs against the sender. But if you think there is a second will possible, then you're not in the consciousness of the one will. You're not in the consciousness of being spirit. And you are not living in the kingdom of heaven on earth. Now remember, way back at the beginning of today's spiritual meeting, we were reminded that spirit is life. And that without spirit there is no life. And so if you're not in the spiritual awareness of these qualities, you're not in the spirit and you're not in life.
The only thing you're suffering from is not being in life. You're being in the illusion of life, the counterfeit. Now we've all been together long enough to know that what we're doing here today is vital, clear, and possible. There's not one of us who can't live consciously in the fact that the will of God is the only will. There's no other will there. Someone wants to hurt me, they're just wasting their time, because there is no will that can do that. Where that individual's will seems to be, only the will of Spirit is. And it doesn't want to hurt itself. It doesn't want to hurt anyone. It wants to maintain its perfection, and it's doing it. And then that so-called will that wanted to hurt you is null and void. It existed only in the degree to which you are unaware of the will that is there of the Spirit. That's how these opposites come about. The degree to which we're unaware of the truth makes possible the appearance of the lie. And because we're generally unconscious of the divine harmony, the divine peace, and so forth, into our false consciousness comes their opposites. But when we plug the gaps with this daily contemplation of truth, there's no place for the opposites to be formed. That was our sixth. And with your permission, I'd like to now just be still, without any specific contemplation, just to rest in the presence. Let's do that together to find that quietness, a gentle peace. Let's lay aside the thought, the concern, and just feel the gentle presence Our seventh contemplation for the seventh day will be one being. The world mind, of course, broadcasts its concept of one being, breaking it all up into billions of ideas that come out in the appearance world as forms, all separated. So that we think there are so many people, so many animals, so many insects, so many flowers, so many trees. But the kingdom of heaven is one being. There are no divisions, no fractions, no parts. No separation. One being. There is not you and your loved one. There is only one being, being itself. One infinity. This being never ends. This being never began. Those are human ideas. This being is always being itself, always present within itself, always present everywhere. This being is the invisible being of all who appear in form. This being is never less than itself. This being is always self-contained. I am that being was the meaning of I am the truth. I am the light. Now that one being has no parts called you and me and someone else. To live in heaven is to know that I am the one being. This form which the human mind has created as an image within itself is not being, but I am being. I am invisible being. I am immortal being. I am spirit, being itself. I have no beginning. I have no end. I am the pure light which is the Father. I am the way. I am the substance. I am the law. I am the action. I am the energy. I am spirit being itself. And all that I am is all that can ever be, for there is no other. I am the infinite spirit dwelling within myself, and outside of me there is nothing, for I cover all that is. I am the infinite spirit in all that is time and beyond. I am the very substance of all those who have been close to me and those who have been far away. They have never died because I am life itself. They were never born because I am life itself. They were never sick because I am life itself. I am the one infinite spirit, and I appear on the earth through the falsity of the human mind as many different forms, persons, things, places, objects, and conditions, but none of them are me. I am the Spirit itself, and I will always be that Spirit. I am being. I am never absent. I am always present. I am where you have seen the world. I am the substance and the identity of everyone you have ever known, including your human self. And I am your being. You are I, the infinite spiritual self that is always being without opposite. And as you rest in I am that being which is the only being, the power of the human mind to deceive is removed. I am the one self of the universe without opposite. That is your seventh day of contemplation. We're going to take an offshoot now of purity. Actually, we could have done it with purity, but we'll make it the 8th day. And we'll call it health. Spirit is never unhealthy. You can never be unhealthy and be the Spirit of God. You are the Spirit of God. Therefore, you can never be unhealthy. To accept lack of health is to deny your spiritual identity. To accept spiritual identity is to remove all possibility of lack of health. And therefore, on your 8th day of contemplation, I am the Spirit, and therefore I have never been unhealthy. I am not unhealthy now. I never can be unhealthy. I am health, spiritual health. And spiritual health is the only health there is. There is no matter because I am spirit. Material unhealthiness was part of the mind illusion, which had accepted material form. I am spirit, and therefore the only form I can be is spiritual form, made of spirit, which can never be unhealthy, and that is my name. I am the Spirit. I am the truth. I am the health. I always have been. I must eliminate the belief of unhealthiness. That is part of the world-mind deception. I have never been unhealthy. I have always been spirit. All those days in the hospital, all of those memories, all of the false beliefs were part of the world-mind deception. I have never been unhealthy. I simply wasn't living in the spiritual universe. I was living nowhere because there is no other place. And in that nowhere I experienced the nothing, which is so real too. The nobodies who live in nowhere. I'm not a nobody. I don't live in nowhere. I am spirit, living in and as the Spirit of God. I am in perfect health and always have been. The perfect intelligence of Spirit has always maintained the perfect health of itself, which I am. On this, the 8th day of contemplation, I am merely developing the capacity to know the truth of who I am and my qualities. It does not stop on the 8th day. That 8th day is to become every day. But maybe we'll have more time later to discuss that. The 8th day is health. Supply will be the 9th day. I, spirit, lack nothing. I can never go outside of myself because there is no outside. I contain within myself all that I need. It has not appeared that way always to the human sense of self, because the human sense of self stopped at the 4th world, at the 4th day. It didn't know to let the Spirit flow like the leaf lets the life of the tree flow. And so it created the forms in the 4th world, and then it reacted with those forms and said, I don't have enough of these forms, or I have the wrong ones. Instead of knowing that I am living now in the spiritual kingdom as spirit, and then waiting for the 5th, 6th, and 7th days to express just as the sun will always shine. Now I'm standing in spirit, which is the 5th, 6th, and 7th day, all combined into the complete spiritual universe. I'm standing in the fullness of being, not accepting the partial 4th world appearance. I am self-complete spirit. All that I have is within myself. I am the Spirit of God. All that Spirit has is mine. I am living in that awareness. I am also throwing out the false awareness that I lack, that I am limited. There's no place for a false awareness, for a false world belief in the Spirit. I am in the kingdom of Spirit, on earth as in heaven. There's no place for a false awareness. I cannot lack in the kingdom of Spirit. If I lack, I am not accepting that this is the kingdom of Spirit, that I am the Spirit, the truth, the way, the peace, the light, the intelligence, the power, that I am. My intelligence is working as the fullness of spiritual intelligence, as the divine mind itself. Independent of all human thought, it is maintaining and expressing its completeness as perfect present supply. That supply is as present as the sunshine. I need only accept the knowledge that it is present, it is flowing, it is expressing, it is here. A cloud today doesn't change the flowing of the sunshine. It will shine because it is here. A cloud of thought does not prevent the flowing of supply. It will flow because it is here. And I hasten the experience of that supply by knowing that it is here and its opposite is not. There is no lack of supply. I must remove that from my belief. The supply is here. I must wait in the Spirit, knowing that it is not something outside that I will find. It is my own being. My being is supply. I am the one being. All that I have is mine. All that is Spirit is mine. Spirit is self-fulfilling. Now you're going to find that as you build this inventory of spiritual qualities into more of a living consciousness, that all the opposites that challenge you will more quickly be understood to be lies. You will know that they are the instantaneous appearance of a world mind lie, right at your doorstep, right in the very mind of you. But there will be this higher intelligence, this developed spiritual consciousness of living here in the kingdom of heaven where these things are impossible. And you will find yourself turning away from them without reaction, without the feeling you've got to do something about them. Living in that page 145 experience, Joel reports that he doesn't know how it works, but it works. All he has to do is just know. Just be there and know. I am the Spirit. Now go ahead and kill me. Go ahead and prevent me from being healthy. Go ahead and take away my supply. How are you going to do it? There's no such will. The will of God is that I be perfect. And I am. The will of God is that I be intelligent, and I am. The will of God is that I be forever, and I am. All that denies this is denying what God tells me is so, and therefore it's a lie. It doesn't even exist. It only seems to be. It's all evidence that I still have a remnant of a human mind. If I still see the lie, feel the lie, touch the lie, even believe the lie, I still am in the remnant of a human mind. And that's what these things happen for, to tell you you're still in that human mind. And then, when you are willing to accept spirit mind, perfect intelligence, the shadow, the counterfeit, the mirage of the human mind diminishes. The world mind stream loses its false potency. The Spirit of the Lord, as your very being, expresses its own freedom from the limitations of the world mind stream. Now, there are more qualities. We could go on, but I think it would be wiser at this moment to retrace our steps for a moment. We've only had 10 days, and I suggest that you use these 10 days, each day, to develop another quality of spirit, always with the awareness that you are living in the kingdom of spirit as spirit, which is actually heaven. That you live in heaven. You awake in the morning in heaven. Get adjusted to that, so that when you awake, you consciously know that the world mind stream is working overtime to keep you in it, but make your adjustment to know that you are literally the only being, that you live in heaven, and that the qualities of heaven are functioning all around you. Then look out at the chair, the table, the lamp, the objects around you, and see that you're going to keep seeing these things out there, but know that they are only in your mind. They're not out there. Someone else is going to come in that room and see them too, and believe that he or she sees them, but they'll only be in his or her mind. And if 100 people come into the room and see them, they only exist in their mind. Now suppose you remove your mind, where would they be? For you, they wouldn't be there, would they? They'd only be there for whoever sees them with their mind. But remove the mind of the world and they wouldn't be there. Remove the mind of the world and the world goes with it. Every tree that stands out there in the forest exists only in the mind of those who behold it. And all you've got to do is know that when your mind is gone, for you there's no tree. When the mind of each individual is gone, there is no forest. There's not even a sun in the sky. These things exist only in the mind of individuals. The mind of individuals saw Jesus, but there was no Jesus there. The reappearance was only in the spiritual mind. The world mind still thought Jesus had gone, but the spiritual mind was able to witness the resurrection. Now there's no world out here, and there's nobody in it. That's the great big make-believe game of the dream, in which he hangeth the earth on nothing. And your conscious awareness that what is out here is heaven, pure spirit, invisible to human sense, but not to the developed spiritual consciousness which you are developing. Live in that heaven by accepting these 10 qualities. Each day another quality. And don't accept their opposites, because both can't be true. As the opposites diminish and the reality increases in your consciousness, you'll see you're definitely learning how to walk in heaven, learning the meaning of I am the truth. And that truth is going to set you free. It's been a beautiful visit. The only reason your tape is a little late this month is because there was a feeling that something yet wasn't being said, but now it's said. And so now you have your tape. Once more, thanks for the letters, the statements, the experiences, the sharing, and thanks for knowing that I am interested. Much love to all of you. Goodbye for now. But let us remember that when you do these exercises in spirit for the next 10 days, that's just a preparation And if your tape is still not there, that is the fifth tape, do those 10 exercises again. Some of you, if you're real creative, you will pick up a few other qualities and develop those. But you have the basic principle of how to live in the kingdom of heaven. And I trust that you will do this. Much love until we meet again.